week on the Triple M Grill Team.
Now, Corrective Services New South Wales has more than 7,000 frontline staff keeping our community safe, rehabilitating inmates and reducing reoffending, or they're trying to anyway. Now, this week we're going behind the Long Bay Correctional Facility to see firsthand the incredible work our officers do. And the Corrections Minister, David Elliott, joins us on the line. David, welcome to the Grill Team.
Well, thank you for having me.
Now, David, I tell you, you've got some brave correctional officers working across the state. I mean, the stuff they must have to put up with on a day-to-day basis.
It's mind-boggling. I call them the last line of defence when you consider the corrections officers in 2017 have got to deal with terrorists, they've got to deal with, pedophilia, they've got to deal with, bikies. It's a tough job. It's a job that it takes a very, very special type of person to do. I can't be prouder than I am. They love it.
Now, David, RPM Malcolm Turnbull said this week in Parliament
63% of Indigenous people incarcerated last year were in prison for violent offences and offences that cause harm. Central to reducing incarceration is reducing the violence and, of course, protecting the victims of violence.
We really do have a problem there, don't we?
Oh, you're dead right. I mean, 48% of people reoffend within 2 years of being released from prison. And, we talk about the record prison population, and that's the reason. People just aren't learning their lesson. Now, there's a whole lot of reasons why incarceration's up. The cops have got technology now that, we used to read about in Dick Tracy magazines, but they've got stuff that now makes it much easier for them to convict and prosecute. And that's great. But, once you've been to prison, ideally you've been rehabilitated and you don't come back again.
Now, David, the ideal society is where there's no one in jail and there's no prisons, but, I mean, we're dealing in fantasy. Well, I'll ask you now, have we enough prisons? Because, every day I'm reading about these rock spiders and things like getting suspended sentences. Are we, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, we closed down 4 prisons a couple of years ago, and then because the Bail Act was tightened, it meant people in remand, we've got a third of them on remand at the moment. My view is these prisons that we're building now, if they're not in demand, if they're not needed, that's fantastic, and let's mothball them. Let's not necessarily close them. So my long-term objective is to make sure that we replace. I mean, we got prisons at the moment that are, they're pre-Victorian. People talk about the Victorian era jails and how evil they were. We're using prisons at the moment that are pre-Victorian. Down in Berrima, we're using a jail. So my view is that, with the exception of maybe the Berrimas, which when they're finished being used at the moment, when we have opened the Cessnock and the Wellingtons, and I have replaced Long Bay Jail, well, they can probably be handed back for heritage use. And prisons are, for whatever reason, very popular tourist destinations. But we will be. My view is that some of these prisons, these new ones, we will be able to mothball them, just close them down, and hopefully they won't be being used. I mean, I'm the only minister in the cabinet that doesn't want to see productivity increase.
Yes. Good point. David, what about the fact that some prisoners that we just despise and just some of the worst people on earth look like they might actually be getting a half-decent deal by being in prisons that are actually really nice? How true are those sort of stories of these guys actually going, well, you know what, they're actually better off than the 2,000 people who got on the streets of Sydney that are homeless and a whole lot of other people out there battling to pay their bills?
It's a great point. And, I mean, there's no foxtel, but listen, I came, as I mentioned before, from the military, and I'm the Minister for Veterans Affairs, and if there's anything that gets my blood boiling, it's the thought that veterans aren't being treated as well as prisoners are. And as the Minister, in the couple of years I've been in this gig, I've taken the view that half of the people in jail should never leave and half of them should never have been there. Because particularly the women, mate, they're victim of circumstances, personal circumstances. They've been beaten up by their husbands, abused by their fathers, they've gone on the drugs or they've stolen or to feed their kids. It's heart-wrenching. You blokes are going to see it. It is not, and it's not an easy place to survive. Yes, there are minimum security prisoners that go out there during the day and they mow the footy fields and they paint the fences and they upgrade and maintain war memorials, and that's fantastic. But if you're in Supermax, you're living a miserable life. I mean, I've been down to Goldman Supermax to know those 30-odd terrorists down there are, there are some things worse than death, and I reckon that Supermax is getting close to it.
Did you say, David, there's no foxtel in there?
No.
That's how are
they going to watch your show?
It's a brand new show, Matty.
Paige, they're missing out on the Friday night show. You're the professor. Second-year syndrome.
I'll tell them about it.
Thank you so much, Minister. We appreciate that.
And get across exactly what the show's about.
It's very difficult.
Anyway.
It's the first time we've had you on, but it's refreshing to hear a minister actually answer the questions exactly. You can just tell that you're not scripted and you're actually passionate about it, and that's exactly what we like on the Grill Team.
Thank you. Can I just say, I mean, obviously I've got a soft spot for Maddie because my mum's a Cessnock girl, but
Go for it,
I've been on BBC, I've been on American television, I've been waiting my entire life to go on 2MMM. So you have really made my day, and I hope my schoolmates are listening because the ones that said I'd amount to nothing, they always said I'd end up in prisons, but.
You just made the promo, so there you go.
Traffic Triple M Club members get the chance to win tickets to see Midnight Oil this morning.